Tonight on CTV News, fewer houses for sale in Christchurch as the real estate market slows, more carnage on the roads involving tourist drivers, and a long-time marriage that could have never been. Kia ora, good evening. Christchurch's housing market appears to be slowing down with a downturn of more than 20% in listings compared to this time last year. Emma J. McLennan reports.
The Christchurch housing market has hit a slump in market listings, down 21.5% last month compared to November last year. The changes released in Harcourt's Market Watch today are likely due in part to a growing reluctance to sell at Christmas time, CEO Chris Kennedy said.
You've got to look at the last 6 to 8 months where you've had some changes with EQC, you've had some changes with Sarah wanting to get a whole lot of things off their books. There's been a balancing act with a shortage of stock versus demand on property, and therefore, if you look at those figures, I'm not too concerned. I think seasonally adjusted, they'll certainly work out to be okay.
While listings are down, sales are up, with 471 properties sold this November compared to 444 last year, making it a real seller's market.
That anybody wanting to buy or sell property, if you're wanting to sell property and you present it well, then it's going to sell well. And if you're in the marketplace where you have the ability to get into the market, then you're going to be able to buy well as well.
The average sale price in Christchurch is up more than $20,000 on last year at just over $510,000. And while sales continue to rise, it looks like the Christchurch market will continue to do well into next year.
I think the market bodes well. I think the economy for Christchurch bodes well. The rebuild is still in full swing. You've still got positive migration coming in, and you've still got a buoyant New Zealand economy. That coupled with a reduction in the official cash rate, and you see our major lenders are dropping their fixed and floating rates. I think that the market and the economy bodes well through to 2016.
And the statistics appear to downplay experts' fears that new properties flooding the market will drop prices. There were 499 listings this November compared to 636 this time last year.
I can't see where the flood of properties coming from. You know, we're the biggest group in Christchurch selling the most properties. 5 out of 10 homes are sold by Harcourts in Christchurch. So we're certainly, our figures are certainly not showing a flood of stock coming to the market.
So while more people are holding on to their property in Christchurch at the moment, it could be a good sign for the city. Emma Jane McLennan, CTV News.
A concrete truck driver was trapped for more than half an hour after a tourist driver in a rental van failed to stop near Templeton. The 52-year-old female driver was cut free just after 1:30 by firefighters and was taken to Christchurch Hospital with moderate to serious injuries. Police say the concrete truck was heading north on Jones Road when the vehicle was hit by a van load of tourists travelling on Dawson's Road. It's the latest in a series of crashes involving tourists on South Island roads. Well, ratepayers could be slammed with more cost if plans to move the Super Gold card scheme goes ahead from a central government to council responsibility. Environment Canterbury is working to find ways to keep the public transport scheme running ahead with the proposed move, seeing major implications to the way elderly travel. National funding changes to the Super Gold card could see ratepayers having to fork out costs to keep the program rolling forward. Environment Canterbury is looking at ways to keep the scheme going if the proposals see the government move the responsibility to local councils. But it could affect the way elderly Canterburyans travel.
The last few years they've gone from just over 8.5 million fares a year through to 11 million, and the NZT are predicting that will rise to 19 million fares by the end of 2019.
The Ministry of Transport's been reviewing the card's public transport scheme since June this year, which would see government funding capped to just over $28 million every year, with an adjustment every 5 years.
We're concerned again about how that's going to play out and what that will mean for older people needing to use the service. Older people using public transport's a good thing. It keeps older people socially connected, active and involved in their community, which is vital not only for them but for the communities themselves.
One of ECAN's options would see ratepayers or passenger fares pay for the cost, or worst case scenario, drop the scheme altogether. But Templeton says the scheme's valuable and should be looked after.
not only provides the free transport and off-peak hours, but it's also a card that provides discounts on well over 11,000 different products and services throughout New Zealand. It's interesting that we, on one hand, are pushing public transport and suggesting that more and more people use it to avoid congestion on the roads and to stay connected and stay involved, and yet this may be indeed a barrier to that.
The council will have to wait, though, until the funding proposals are confirmed early next year before considering if ratepayers or passenger fares will have to pay the shortfall. A youth health centre may have found what it's been looking for nearly 5 years on from the earthquakes. Chelsea Daniels explains.
The only one-stop shop for youth services in the city is close to securing new premises. The lease for Youth Health Hub 298 Barbados ends in April next year, and with the deadline looming, the organisation is in negotiations for a new and exciting location.
What we want is really the things that young people feel they need to help develop well. So, what do people need? They need housing. So somewhere to be while they get together all their stuff that they need and then find their own place, especially for kids who don't have families to help them.
Dr Bagshaw has plans for a large 2,000 square metre facility, which covers everything from health and helping youth develop career aspirations to mentoring programs and a purpose-built creative space.
We'd love to have that creativity aspect where young people can explore that side of them and through it grow. And the research has shown that can be very, very helpful, especially for young people who have had, a lot of vulnerability in their lives already.
The proposed new Central City Hub would have transitional housing, a creative space and service providers, including work and income. The hope is to create a space where youth can grow, learn to live independently as well as codependently with others, so they can move to more permanent housing, perhaps together. And she says learning these life skills is incredibly difficult without a supportive family.
If your family's living hand to mouth, if your family has been unemployed for generations, if your family has its own problems in terms of mental illness and alcohol and other drug problems, it's really hard for them to support you. And it's not through no fault of their own.
The original centre opened 2 decades ago and after closing due to the quakes, relocated in 2012 to its current location. Due to an overwhelming number of Christchurch youth needing the support service, the team has moved premises multiple times.
We'll probably have to move another couple of times, but we'll get there. We've got the most amazing staff who are incredibly adaptive and they just care about the job. So, gosh, without them we couldn't do it.
Negotiations are underway and Director Dr Bagshaw hopes to be in the proposed $10 million building next year. Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
Well, still to come here on CTV News, it's a big day for Canterbury tomorrow, but who will be celebrating? And Bridget's here with your neighbourhood news. Welcome back to CTV News. It's a very significant day in Canterbury's history tomorrow, but few appear to know anything about it, as Chelsea Daniels reports.
Canterbury turns 165 years old tomorrow, a birthday many Cantabrians have forgotten. Canterbury Anniversary Day, or also known as Show Day, was moved to November in a marketing bid to fully utilise Cup and Show Week. Whereas the real settlers anchored their ships at Lyttelton Port at 10 a.m. December 16th.
The powers of be sort of thought it would be nice to keep it with the races in November, so Show Day is in November, and unfortunately that means the 16th of December, our actual anniversary date, has sort of just slipped from most people's memories, unfortunately.
And in the past, Anniversary Day was quite the lavish affair.
Probably would have been 1950 when we turned 100. The big parade, numerous floats, sporting events, even the cultures celebrated. The Scottish had a big day of Scottish games and things like that. And I think after 100, it just sort of it left people's memories. The first families certainly keep it alive amongst themselves, but as a city, we don't seem to have a lot going on these days for the actual date.
She says more storyboards around the city would help new generations acknowledge Christchurch's colourful beginnings. And the aftermath of the earthquakes certainly hasn't helped keep history in the city alive.
That's why the earthquakes have been even more tragic. There was the loss of life, but also the loss of history. Every old building that came down, that's another generation that won't know the story behind that building.
There are many memorials around Christchurch, most of which remain unnoticed.
A wee little memorial there that was unveiled on Anniversary Day 1926, and I'm sure a lot of people still don't know it's there. But history is just around the corner. You've got to do is open your eyes, look around, look down, look for your plaques. It's there if you're looking for it.
Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
Now let's cross to Bridget Rutherford in the newsroom with what's happening in your neighbourhood.
Thanks for that, Jared. Lincoln Hammer Hardware owner Lynn Townsend is leading the charge for businesses in the area annoyed on-street parking could be taken away. Under the draft Lincoln Town Centre plan, car parks would be removed from the north side of Gerald Street. But Townsend says nearby shops would be badly affected by the move. The council says it would meet with businesses to address the issue and hold a hearing next year. Kaikoura District Council's new Chief Executive has been announced. Angela Wusthuizen will take over the reins on February the 1st, replacing Stuart Grant, who has been in the role for 18 years. Wusthuizen is currently the Corporate Services Manager at the Buller District Council, and she's worked in local government in South Africa. Mayor Winston Gray has welcomed the appointment and says Wusthuizen comes with strong experience in economic development and tourism. Alex Lloyd came armed with a briefcase full of lollies as part of his role of principal for a day. The St Albans Catholic Primary School pupil won the opportunity to be principal for the day at a Parent-Teacher Association fundraising auction. The 10-year-old says the hardest aspect of the job was taking the afternoon assembly. He gave out awards and, in a popular move, declared a mufti day. Christmas has come early for the Christchurch Hospital's Child Health Care Division. The annual Countdown Kids Appeal raised nearly $9,000 for the children's ward. The Countdown Kids Appeal is a national fundraiser that runs annually and helps raise money for medical equipment in children's hospitals. It's been running since 2007 and $92 million has been raised in that time. This year's donation will pay for a number of major items, including cardiovascular and respiratory monitors for the Children's Acute Assessment Unit. And a visit from World Vision has inspired South New Brighton School to help pay for a girl's education in a third world country. The school's been helping pay for a Tanzanian child to attend a school by running 2 car washes. The car washes raised $80 for the child. The school received a special thank you card for its efforts. And parents taking their kids to play on the new Barrington playground have a brand new picnic table to sit on. Tinline Property Group, which owns Barrington Shopping Centre, paid for the new table. The playground was destroyed in an arson attack in March. The community raised more than $20,000 for its rebuild and the council matched it to replace the equipment. Tinline Property Group wanted to help in some way and the council said a picnic table would be a great addition. From the newsroom, I'm Bridget Rutherford.
Thanks for that, Bridget. Well, being with someone you love is special, and it's even more so when you've been married for 73 years. One Christchurch couple are celebrating their wedding anniversary today, but it was a marriage that may have never happened.
Almost 80 years ago, a young Edna Noble was told by her mother she couldn't marry her sweetheart. She refused to obey her mother, and now 73 years on, she and that sweetheart are still together.
We were really in love. We wouldn't be without each other, you know. Even when the war was on and they said you're not supposed to be out on the streets at a certain time of night, he still come down on his bike, you know, and he was not supposed to be on the street.
The two met in the early 1940s at a dance school close to Cathedral Square. The future Mrs. Kessel had been going to classes with a girlfriend there when she met Mr. Kessel on the dance floor. In a Cinderella-type move, she had to leave him at 11 p.m. to catch the train home.
I looked round and my girlfriend was going, and I thought, gee, I'm staying at her place tonight. I can't leave her go off without me. So I had to leave him in the middle of the room. And I was worried after that I might never see him again. But the next time we went, he was there.
Edna liked Gilbert from the first time she saw him, but it was going to be a couple years before they could get married. First, Mr. Kessel was sent off to war, but flying warplanes damaged his hearing and he was sent back, one of the only ones in his squadron to survive. Next came the future in-laws.
My mother didn't want me to marry him. She had her eye on the boy down the road who kept coming down bringing fruit and stuff to come and see me, you know, and she wanted me to get involved with him, but nothing, no. So I had to wait till I turned 21.
The two were shunned by Mrs. Kessel's family, that is, until they bought a nice home on Cashmere Hill. That's where they brought up their 3 children before later moving into a rest home. While Mr. Kessel's health is no longer very good, his wife is constantly by his side.
I talk to him, and sometimes he can't hear what I'm saying sometimes. Ever since that business in the war, it affected his hearing. But I pat his hand and say, all right, Papa, you know, and all this. He seems to get the message.
The two are celebrating this week with their children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren by their side. Congratulations, Gilbert and Edna. Emma Jane McLennan, CTV News.
Oh, that's wonderful, and a happy anniversary from all of us here at CTV News. Well, still to come, local sport, and Mercy's here with your region's weather forecast. Welcome back to CTV News. Now here's Gordon Finlater with the latest in local sport.
Well, starting with cricket tonight, and Canterbury has a new black cap. Middle order batsman Henry Nicholls has been in scintillating form over the last 12 months, and yesterday the hard work came to fruition.
Yesterday Gavin Larson gave me a call and threw out of the blue, and he said he had some good news for me. It's when I found out, it was when I was pretty taken back, really.
Nicholls' biggest case for promotion to the national side came in recent months, notching 200s and a 50 in 2 first-class matches against Sri Lanka A. And now that newfound consistency has been rewarded, being named in the Black Caps one-day squad to take on Sri Lanka.
Me just understanding my game a bit more and just having that confidence for me to score runs consistently, not score runs and then, you know, have a couple of low scores and then sort of undo all your hard work. So I think that consistency is the biggest thing I've tried to work on, and I was happy with how I was able to do that during the A series, and that sort of wanted to be my new benchmark in terms of that's my new standard, and be able to maintain that throughout my career, ideally.
An impressive finish to last summer and top performances for New Zealand A have put Nicholls' name in high stead recently. However, the Cantab has remained grounded and was genuinely surprised to get the call-up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things you don't really know, and I think the more you probably think about it, you sort of get a bit far ahead of yourself. So I think, to be honest, I wasn't really thinking about it at all. It was a goal of mine to try and make that New Zealand Winter Training Squad over the winter, and I achieved that. And then to be named in that New Zealand A was, that was sort of the pinnacle of what I'd, done in my career so far. And then to obviously be involved in that series win and then manage to score some runs, I'm sure it's helped, but that was the main focus for me. And then what's happened now is really, come as a real surprise.
And while Nicholls still has domestic duties for Canterbury this week, he's now looking forward to establishing himself in the Black Caps dressing room.
When Tommy Latham was back here, they all speak very highly of the environment, and it's a real pleasure. And even yesterday, a couple of the guys in the team gave me a text after the test win to just say congratulations on the selection and looking forward to having me in there. So it's very exciting heading into an environment which is a lot of great guys who play a lot of good cricket at the moment.
And Nicholls' first opportunity to take to the field for the Black Caps will come on home turf, with the first 2 one-day internationals against Sri Lanka taking place at Hagley Oval on Boxing Day and the 28th. And just finally tonight, it was a successful trip to Melbourne for the University of Canterbury motorsport team, who celebrated a podium finish in the prestigious Formula SAE competition. 30 international universities attended the competition in Melbourne, with the University of Canterbury designed and built car finishing first in the cornering category, whilst also picking up a second place in the autocross and second in the business presentation. The podium finish is Canterbury's best result to date in the 3 years that it has entered the competition. Well, you're up to date with the latest in local sport. I'm Gordon Findlater for CTV Sport.
Thanks for that, Gordon. Now here's Mercy with your region's weather forecast. And how's the weather looking for the next few days?
Thanks, Jared. We're actually expecting it to be a little bit unsettled over the next couple of days, seeing some sunshine, some hail, some thunder, some rain, bit of a mixed bag. Today's highs, though, 23 degrees for Timaru and Geraldine. Looking to central Canterbury, it was a warm one here. Sunshine definitely out. A few showers tonight, though. 25 degrees there for Christchurch and Darfield, and 24 for Akaroa, Leeston and Ashburton. Taking a look further north, Kaikoura, you also saw 24 degrees, along with Rangiora. But warmer though, 26 there for Amberley, 23 degrees was the high for Cheviot and 25 for Culverden. Alpine region, 20 was your high today, Lake Tekapo, and 18 for Mount Cook. Tomorrow though, we're seeing a bit of rain coming through, particularly in the morning and the evening. That rain will be clearing around the dawn mark for you, Timaru, back in the evening though, and that could be quite heavy, just 16 for your high. 16 is also your high, Ashburton, so a chilly one with southwesterly winds, bit of rain first up, and it could be quite heavy later on, potentially even some hail in the mix. Christchurch may also be seeing some hail on your Wednesday night, southwesterly winds and a cold one. A fine start in store for you, Kaikoura, and it could be fine during the day. However, we are seeing that rain come through in the evening with those southwesterly winds and 15 degrees for your high. Southwesterlies and rain for South Canterbury as well. Also seeing that trend for central Canterbury, so it's going to be pretty cold. Drizzle patches first up, maybe some fine spells during the day, but that rain will definitely be back later on. Could be some hail with it as well. Get prepared for that heavy rain, North Canterbury, seeing some fine starts, particularly for Hamner Springs, Cheviot, and also seeing that for Kaikoura, but we are seeing that sogginess come through in the evening. Alpine region rain here as well, and those southwesterly winds. On Thursday, we're also expecting that rain to continue. It is much needed moisture for some, so it is actually a good thing for some people. Southerly winds, especially those farmers, it's a good thing. Southerly winds for you guys, but a hail in the morning potentially on Thursday, but it is easing off. And on Friday, it gets lovely and sunny, so quite a contrast. Northeasterly winds on Friday with afternoon sea breezes as well. On Thursday, expect that rain first up, could be a little bit of hail and also that rain throughout the day. It is easing off though. Those southerly winds are easing with it as well. We are expecting the temperatures and conditions to get a little bit better from around the afternoon mark for South Canterbury and late afternoon for North Canterbury. On Friday though, beautiful and sunny. We're seeing a much more settled day, northeasterly winds and sea breezes along coastal areas. So over the next few days, we are expecting that rain to come through Wednesday morning and evening, and also on Thursday morning as well. Watch out, there could be some hail in the mix. That's your update for Tuesday. Back to you, Jared.
Thanks for that, Mercy. And the rain will be good for farmers and my veggie garden, which is going well, just so you know. And that's CTV News for tonight. You can find all our bulletins on demand at ctv.co.nz. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Jared McCulloch. Good evening.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.